Welcome to the Success Pick and Mix podcast. I'm your host, Nicky Raby, a professional pick and mixer. I'm a personal brand coach, a speaker, an actor, a creator, and a podcaster. I'm on a mission to help you find and create your version of success, your pick and mix of life and business on your terms, a blend that complements your personality, your goals, and your circumstances. Since 2018, I've been sharing interviews and mini episodes to help you unlock your next step, to make it real and make it happen. Round here, we dream big. We go for the ideal version. We talk about money and make moves our future selves would be proud of. This podcast is free and available for you whenever you need it. So do rate, review, and subscribe for new episodes. If you want to go deeper with my support, check out my freebies house and unlock the rooms you choose. nickyraby.com/freebies house. I also have workshops, programs, and one-on-one bespoke offerings. For prices and availability, go to nickyraby.com. Thank you, as always, for spending some time with me and my guests. Now, on to today's episode. In today's episode, I'm talking to Kerry Secker, who is the founder of Kerry. She's a sleep consultant, although today's episode isn't really about sleep, although if it was, it might be helpful. But it's about how she's grown her business. Her brand has expanded so much over the last few years, and she has so many great nuggets to share. And so I wanted to dive into that today and to talk about how she's made those moves and how she's gone into that mixed model business. And also she's just had a baby of her own, which is so exciting. So this was recorded a little while ago before she was pregnant, but I wanted to share it with you. It's a really great episode. So I hope you enjoy. Lots of love. Kerry Secker, welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Hey, Nikki, how are you? Thank you so much for having me. I don't know why I'm giggling. I do that all the time, and there's that silence. I'm just like, stop, what's happening?
I know. Do you know what it's like the moment when something happens in church, if somebody drops something or like somebody starts coughing hysterically and you're like, oh gosh, I can't hold it in. What am I to do? Welcome. I'm so thrilled that you're here. If people don't know you, what's your business? What do you do? Tell us all about yourself.
Well, first of all, that thing, when people start laughing, it's got a name. It's called the giggle loop, and it's actually a psychological, like if somebody starts laughing or does something or it's silent, it's normal for people to do that. It's actually a thing. So yeah, my name's Kerry Secker. I'm an infant sleep consultant. I'm founder of my unique sleep out. I'm on a mission to get families a settled night's sleep without tears, training or techniques.
Fantastic. And when did you start? When did this dream become alive? When did it all happen? And what was your transition into like starting? I mean, I know the story, but like what happened? How did you start your own business?
How do you know the story, Nikki? You could help me fill it in. For me, it feels like I can't remember a time when I didn't work with children. I was a nanny. I qualified back in 1999. I literally can't believe that. And we
don't need to talk about once if it's got a 1990 at the beginning, we just don't need to mention it. It's fine.
I still feel like the 1990s were last week. And then I was talking to somebody yesterday and she was like, I was talking about the 90s. I referenced in the 90s and she said I wasn't even born.
Oh,
okay,
that's annoying.
Yes, so I started off as a nanny and came out fresh out of nanny school, looked after 3 children, absolutely loved it. Found out I had a real flair for getting babies to sleep, and my whole approach to it was that I didn't want to do any controlled crying or crying it out. I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just something that I really didn't feel was the best thing for me to do. I had bed dread with the children I was looking after. And then it was a very, very slow and gradual process for me for setting up to where it was, how it is today. But I think when I went into my last nannying job, about 6 years ago now, you know what, it must have been longer than that, 9 years ago now, because it was just before I'd got married. So yeah, 9 years ago now, I just instinctively knew that that was going to be my last job, and I was going to start doing something else. I didn't know what, but I knew that was going to be my last job. And I think towards the end of that, I started setting up. I would never used to be Care It Out. It was Kerry Cares Parenting.
I remember the logo. Yeah, absolutely.
Feels like a long time ago, and it's definitely been a journey. So I would probably say I feel like I've been working with families for over 20 years, because I have. But the sleep consulting side, probably the last 6-7 years. But it's taken a long time to get to that point where it's built up and it's where it is today.
Yeah. And, you know, you are a woman in demand. Like, I'm always just in awe of like how you run things, because this is not just oh, now I did that, I'll just do a few little sessions on the side. Like, the growth that I've seen that you've done, the community that you've built, like how well respected you are in your industry, it's just amazing. So I guess this is the keep it, I think, is like, how do you start going, okay, so I know that I'm got these skills in terms of helping kids to go to sleep. Where did you start from there? How did you start to bring the idea to life?
Again, I think it was a very gradual process. I never really had a plan in the beginning. I'm not much of an organizer, believe it. And it always makes me laugh when people say to me, oh, you're so organized. See how organized you are. It always makes me laugh, because I'm really not. But I think it came to life when I just decided that it was quite an organic thing. But I think the push was, I had a friend that I met through nannying, and she said that if I didn't do something, and because what had happened was I'd got word out, you know how parents talk in a park, so word had got out that there was this lady that could help with sleep in a more
this wizard lady
word in the park. And I helped her, gave her some advice, not in a like it, just friends chatting, and she said it was absolutely gold dust. And she said, if you don't get this out there and start doing something, then I'm going to take it out there and do something. And I think that was the final push. It took me a really long time to realise that what I had did need to be out there. And I think what I'm really passionate about is anybody that's thinking of setting up their own business, or they're starting to, whatever that is, consulting, product based, things take time. You don't just go from having those skills to a big community, whatever that looks like for you, a big community, and you're out there every day doing your thing. My whole journey really has taken a good 5 years. It's gone really quickly, yes, but it definitely wasn't an overnight thing.
No, and it takes lots of twists and turns and trial and error and experimenting things. And I think the temptation, especially for people who sort of pride themselves on being organized, is to have everything perfect. So to have all of the spreadsheets or all of the things, or a whole year's worth of content mapped out, or knowing exactly how they're going to get from A to B by working out the maths. And it's really just not the case sometimes, because until you make it real, I always liken it to being an actor. You know, there's some things where you're like, oh, I feel like the script in this play is going to go this way. And then you show it to an audience and then they laugh in a weird place. And you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize that was funny, or not. Or you have that deafening silence where you're like, right, okay, I'm just going to not do that then. How did you start to kind of brand yourself, I guess? And how did you start to put together your packages and get the word out there that effectively your shop was open?
Yeah, I think in the beginning I was incredibly naive. I was just like, why wouldn't people want to work with me? I think my friend gave me too much confidence. And I remember designing these leaflets from like Vistaprint or something. And they were they were all looking, they were awful, Nicky, but it was a starting place. They were like something from 1999. And I can remember my first day, I was so pumped and so excited. naive. And I went to the park and I was handing out these leaflets, and I just thought that it would come, like people would want. I knew there was a need, like I really knew and trusted that there was a need for it. But I think that false optimism. I was like, yep, this is just going to work. This is going to be my strategy. Hand out the leaflet, and everything's just going to come coming to me. Yeah. And that didn't work that way. I think I spent the whole day walking around the park, and on the way back home, I saw loads of them in the bin.
Oh gosh.
And I was just like, maybe I need to change tactic here. So the branding, the getting clients in and building it up, and the whole branding thing, again, it definitely took time. It's so boring, isn't it, talking about time? But it was a really gradual process. And I really liked what you said before, that sometimes it is trial and error, because I really felt and I'm still doing that now. I think that's really important. Lots of people, I think, myself included, was like, well, I've never planned anything and I still don't bulk anything. People are always like, why aren't you bulking your stuff? I would much prefer to do a post a day. I still don't plan my content out. I still just think, what am I going to talk about today? And then do it all the time.
Yeah, I like to do a bit of both, actually, because I like, and I'm sure it's the same with yours, I like it to feel like it's coming from me and my own perspective, that it's not just something I've like Googled and downloaded an image from the internet and gone, right, I'll just do a positive thinking topic quote, something like that, that it has to feel like it's your voice, that I guess I can own it in that way. So the first people started to come through the door, and then what happened? What did you find out from having like real life people who were starting to pay you?
Well, let's unpack that a little bit, because I think in the first year I had 2 clients.
Okay, this is good to know, peeps, because people who were like, I was nothing, I was homeless, and now I'm living in a castle, it might take a little bit longer, but that's fine. That's fine. Those 2 clients, yes, it's a tried and tested method. Happy days.
Yeah, and I can remember thinking, I don't know, I've always just trusted it's just going to take time to get out there. But yes, so the clients started coming through the door, 2 of them in that first year. And it felt really exciting. And I think you lose this as you go on. I used to call them my fizzy first. You celebrate everything. The first time you have an initial chat with somebody, the first time somebody pays their invoice, the first time you do a home visit, or you offer one of your services. And then as you go through the business, as you progress, I think you lose a little bit of that along the way. But I'm trying to remember to come back to that a little bit, because in the beginning everything feels so new. It took a long time to get from those 2 clients for the first year to now, when I'm not like, it's a full practice, because pace and purpose is my mantra here. I don't like to rush. I like to enjoy what I'm doing. So it is a full practice, and I'm busy. Like, I'm probably booked up anywhere between 7 to 10 days in advance. So that's a long way. When I haven't looked back and thought about that for a long time, but coming from 2 clients for the first year and lots of empty space in my diary to where it is now, where I'm just like, I would quite like a little bit of space to do something. Again, that's a 5-year journey.
Absolutely. And I think keeping that faith and having that ability to really trust what you're doing, it's a muscle that you have to work. And I think it can be very easy when you see people having success online and sort of thinking, well, it's all right for them. Maybe they've got this, or maybe they've got that. And sometimes it is that, I heard this phrase a little while ago, that you're the one who's willing to hang on when everybody else lets go. And I've certainly found that in my own career, that it's like, no, I haven't got to skip any of this work. I've just been that person who, and sometimes it's been on a Saturday night where I'm like, this isn't working. I've got to do this, this, and this. I've got to make some moves. I've got to dig deep when I really don't want to, when I just want to sit in a bucket of wine and have a good old cry. And believe me, I've done that as well. So now I would say that people really know you online. You've built up this wonderful community and people are now coming to you. And one thing that I really admire about you is your ability to work in your zone of genius and to bring on your team, your assistant, and really grow it to a fully fledged business. So you work at your best capacity and you're serving people. How did you know when it was time to make those leaps in your business and go, right, okay, this is the next chapter. This is how I reveal the next part?
Well, that is a great question, Nikki. I think you still, as you go through the process, you're always constantly learning. I love your phrase, new level, new devil.
Yeah.
So
yeah, every time. And then I forget sometimes, and I'm like, oh, there you are again. I thought this would be fine. And it's not. It's a new level of Candy Crush that you're like, oh gosh, now I've got this thing falling on my head that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, it took me a long time to reach out for help. I really didn't want to. I don't know what it was. I think it's quite normal for us not to want to help. I wanted to do it by myself, if that makes sense. And I realised that I was just getting to the point where I was burning myself out. I was answering emails all the time. I was getting frustrated with answering. I love my job, but I was getting really frustrated. I was answering a lot of the stuff. I was just doing the same things over and over again. And I think it was a very organic process. I think the things just got busy. The inbox just got busier and busier and busier. And I just was working harder and harder and harder. And I was moving further away from that pace and purpose, that joy. And that's really important to me, is that I really want to enjoy my days. I never want to feel that I'm just running from one thing to the next. And don't get me wrong, like this week is one of them. I'm literally running from one thing to the next. You'll get weeks like that where it's really busy, but 9 times out of 10 I try to curate it. So it's based on purpose. I'm really enjoying it. For me, I can always tell when I'm getting to that new level, new devil.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I start getting stressed, I start getting to the point where I'm resenting my work when I absolutely love it. I get tired, get snappy with my husband. Other things start to slip and I just move away from that joy, and that is the point for me. Right, what else can I start automating? What can I do? And I can't remember how long I've had my VA for, virtual assistant. Best thing I ever did. And again, in the beginning, there's no way I could have justified having a VA for 2 clients for the year. Like, we'd all be sitting around doing nothing for the whole year, looking at each other's diaries. But as it grew, organically grew, and got busier and busier and busier, that was one of the best decisions. And that was a game changer for me. And it doesn't have to be something like a VA. It could be something really simple as getting a cleaner, getting an extra couple of hours for childcare, a VA, somebody to do your graphics, someone to upload your podcast for you. And now I accept all of the help. I'm always so thankful for my little team that help me.
Yeah, definitely. And I bet it's allowed you to really connect with growing your business. And, you know, as you mentioned, you've now launched your podcast, and you probably wouldn't have been able to do that or have the headspace for it if you'd just been sort of in that wheel of your business and moving forward in that way. I would love to talk about money, if that's okay, and how you have such a great relationship with it, in terms of you are very much in it must feel like to a lot of parents that you've got the secret keys to a private, like all the information, the hidden secrets, like, oh my goodness, this is what you need to do this, and then you're going to have a perfect night's sleep, etc. We all know there's more to it than that. But certainly in a service-based business where you're helping people, where what you have could potentially help lots of people, how have you found that lovely rhythm and that lovely balance between charging really well so you feel that you can deliver at that high standard that you do, but also not feel all the feels, basically, of maybe I should just give this away for free? Because I know so many female entrepreneurs do have that, yeah, but I have it, so maybe I should give it.
It's so hard, and I definitely really struggled with that, and definitely undercharged when I started. And now I'm always, I did it recently. I'm always, if I'm working with other people, I'm like, you need to charge more, because you need to respect. If you don't, one of the biggest things I learned was that if you don't respect your time, put in your boundaries and charge your worth, other people won't respect it back. When you said let's talk about money, my stomach did lurch. Like, it's so hard to talk about money, isn't it?
And do you know what? I said it in that, makes me sound very Jeremy Kyle, that I led with that very sort of leading statement. But I know that people listening to that, their stomach will also flip. And that's why I really want to normalize it, because it's so important to talk about it. And not just from I was nothing and now I'm a 7-figure business owner, but in a talking through the process of actually making this thing work and making sure that you have a life as well that feels sustainable too.
Okay, well, I will get really honest. It's really hard. I've always found it very difficult to talk about money, and I've had to work really hard at overcoming a lot of my money blocks and and getting used to having that money that comes in. And in the beginning, I think I earned like 80 quid from those 2 clients in the first year, which, like, it doesn't take, no one is going to be able to survive on that for a whole year. Like, that would last me, like, it was crazy. And I spent more on like advertising and stuff, so I definitely lost more. But again, it's definitely not been an overnight thing when it comes to making money, having a comfortable relationship with money. And I think you're still learning. Every single new level, new devil, it will bring something up. But I just see it's a work in progress. And with the whole, it's hard to explain how it all, but again, I think because it was such a slow process, it grew. And I think it's really normal. Well, I felt so exactly how you just described there, Nikki, that I'm like, this is so easy to me, I love it, why don't I just share it? And it is that balance. I think it's just within, I'm sure I can only talk from the service industry, so I'm sure it might be in other industries as well, but in that whole service industry, there's that thing that if you're caring, you shouldn't charge, and you should give it away. And what I really want to stress is that nobody has the secret to anything. And I do think there's a lot of expectations on sleep consultants that they're magic. We've got a magic wand. There's some massive sleep secrets we're holding on to. We're not. Sleep is a biological process, and it looks the key to moving forward looks different for everybody, and you can never preempt that. So I think that's really important. But charging for what you're worth, that definitely took time, and for me it's definitely still a work in progress. Always know when my prices need to go up, the demand gets higher, I still get that resistance and that, I've got to do it again, or I just think it's a constant work in progress. A really useful mantra that helped me was I serve and I deserve. And I think I countered the balance with that, where again I didn't really have a business plan per se, because I'm not much of a planner. I still don't plan too much stuff, but I forgot where I was going with this. What was I talking about?
About serving and deserving and knowing when your prices need to go up.
I was going to say something really profound there, Nikki, and it's gone. I hate it when that happens.
It will come back to you.
I was talking about serving and deserving, knowing when your prices need to go up. No, it will come back.
Do you know what? I think that is so valid, especially in terms of this secret, and people want the quick fix. So I know that I watched all of those infomercials of like, do this for 28 days and you too will have a body like this. And, you know, those ones where people would smile and they would be on those skiing machines and you're like, oh my goodness, they just look a bit manic. But one thing I've realized is, in order to help people in the way that I want to, I've got to create that space. And that doesn't happen in a quick DM. Like, we've had this conversation, like, can I just ask you a quick question? Or can I just say something without saying please or thank you? And actually, you're doing a disservice to the client as well, not only to yourself, but you want to hold that space so you can pay full attention to what they're saying and actually help them find the solution. And how have you been able, I guess, to switch in to making your schedule really work for you now? Because I know we've had conversations where you're like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, no, I'm not doing that on a Tuesday. Like, no, Nicky, don't even think about it. Don't even suggest it. Do not fast go. But I love that about you, because you're like, no, Mondays is when I go live on Instagram. Like, that's not shifting. That's not moving. How did you find that, or give yourself permission, should I say, to be able to run it in the way that you fully want to, with ignoring, I guess, what other people might say?
Yeah, I've actually just remembered, I'll come back to it, but I've actually just remembered what I was going to say. And I counterbalanced earning what I think it's really important to charge what you're worth. And actually, I learned that when I gave out free stuff or did a free webinar, people didn't value it. People have got to have a bit of skin in the game. So freebies, I think it's really important. I didn't have a plan, but my kind of loose business plan was to give as much away as possible. So do a live every week, do a post every day. I do what I can. Like, I do give loads and loads of value, and all of the posts, well, pretty much all of the posts on Instagram or the podcast or Facebook, they're always really useful and informative, with lots of suggestions to put in place. And I think that really helped me, where I'm just like, well, look, I've given loads. I try and make it as accessible and affordable and available to as many people as I can. But if that doesn't help, then I will need a one-to-one. And I think you mentioned it before, like, it's a muscle. The more you do it, the more easier it becomes. And then I think it just all compounds, because then the busier you become, you don't have that capacity to start giving your time free. And coming back onto my schedule, yes, I am really boundaried during the week, and I do have, my schedule is hilarious. Like, on a month, I do the same things day in, day out. Like, I have fixed times for when I have my consultations with families. I have every Monday I go live on my social media accounts. I do the podcast on a set day, and I just think that helps. And I'm wondering whether that's an overlag from being a nanny, where everything was so regimented. You get up, you have breakfast, you have a snack, you do an activity. I think that maybe is in just, that's how I work best. When I'm doing a short task, it gets done and then I move on. So for me, for somebody that's actually not that organised, I'm pretty organised when it comes to my schedule, everything. And actually, this is really important. And I had so much hesitation about going automated. Like, I had this thing where, this belief or this thought that I had to work really hard to earn the money. And make it easier on yourself. So once I kind of let that go and let it be easy, it's absolutely okay to automate everything. It's okay to not answer every single email or comment or direct message. I still really struggle with that. It's okay to take payment up front. That's a game changer. I look back, I can't believe I used to raise all the invoices, check the invoices off. I can't believe I ever had time to do that. Like, the quicker, once I started doing that, and the quicker I automated everything, and again, it wasn't nothing is a quick fix or an overnight process, but that helped massively. So a really big tip would be to automate everything as much as you can. I think I might have done this with you. I wrote down everything that I needed to do in my, like, to run my business. And then I kind of split it into it was either 2 or 3 sections, things that only I can do. So that's where all my energy and focus goes, because no one else can do that. Things that I can automate, so then I would hand them over to somebody else, which, as somebody that likes control, I found that very difficult. But it's like a muscle. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. And by the end of it, you're like, here's my husband, can you feed him? Thanks, bye. Here's just my diary, just sort it. Exactly. And then things I enjoy that maybe somebody else I really enjoy, like, people keep telling me to that I really shouldn't be doing my own social media anymore, and get some help with that. I'm like, but I really enjoy that part of my day where I think, for me, I find that a rest. Just what am I going to talk about? And writing, I find that's me when I get really creative. And I think you lose something as well. And I want it to come from me. I think you were saying something similar earlier.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole point for me of running your own business. It's like it's figuring out the things that are going to really connect as well. And actually social media and my own tone of voice, that's the stuff that ultimately converts clients or welcome speaking gigs or all of those sorts of things. And they're the only things that I can do in that way, for sure. When you're serving people all day and you're giving so much, how do you keep yourself centered and grounded and making sure that you're feeling topped up and you're feeling the best that you can be? I mean, you know, COVID-19 aside, because it's all a bit crazy at the moment, but what are some of your non-negotiables that you know you need to have in place?
Oh, that's a great question. And again, it's so no one's perfect. You definitely slip, but I try and eat really well as best as I can. I do prioritize trying to get out for a walk in the morning before work. Having an office to go to, and again, I'm sitting, just for context, I'm sitting in my my lounge looking out, and I can see my office on the next street. So it seems crazy, like a lot of my friends were like, why do you need an office when you can see it from home, just work from home? But that was a game changer for me, because it meant that I could go to work, I could give all of what I've got to my families during the day, or the families that I'm working with, whatever I'm doing. But then I come home and my home is my rest space. So really splitting that out has really helped me. And also having an office means, I don't know, subconsciously it meant I stepped up a bit as well. I felt that I was doing something. I wasn't just somebody that pratted about in their laundry room. Actually, the laundry is in the lounge today, drying as I speak. Feels like I've gone back in time. But I wasn't somebody just messing around at home. And by the way, I'm not saying people that are working from home and that's how I felt. I felt it wasn't a proper job, because I was just doing it from my lounge or my kitchen table. And once I moved into an office space, which again, to begin with, it was just a shared space, that's massive. But I think having the office was a big game changer for me, for boundaries, making sure I have a bit of fresh air at lunchtime, not rushing clients. Like, that's why I know you're laughing at me, Nicky, having that schedule, but like, this is what happens when that really helps me, not doing things back to back, says running like a blue ass fly all this week.
Oh my God.
Well, seeing friends, that's, well, COVID-19. There's really little things, having quiet time. I meditate every day, that really helps me as well. Just making sure that you have some quiet time, especially when you are in a service industry, because I think if you're in that, most of the time you care, you're an empath, you're taking that all on. And when you work for yourself, if you worked in a big organisation such as the NHS, you would probably have supervision to do that, but you'd be able to talk about it and share that, and you'd have supervision to help you with what you've taken on. So I think it's even more important that if we are doing this by ourselves, that we are very aware of looking after ourselves and what makes us feel good. I've recently given up booze 2.5 weeks, and I feel great.
Wow, that's a whole nother podcast. Oh my goodness. But I know how, like, we have a thing, we'll talk about that another time. That's so interesting, because the thing that kept running through there, which I think is so important to acknowledge for people, is you listen to what you need. And I think sometimes there is that assumption that we have to fall into some weird stereotype. So if you work from home, you're watching This Morning at the same time as casually bashing out a few emails. And actually, when I'm working, I'm able to focus and crack on and things like that. Or sometimes, it's about, it's all these things. And then there's sometimes where I'm like, no, I need to get out the house and do that. But I think paying attention to actually what's going on and what your needs are, whether you're a morning person or a night person, or you like to mix things up rather than saying, like, I've had that moment where people have sort of said, well, now you're a parent, you shouldn't be ambitious anymore. I'm like, well, I kind of have to be, because this is sort of what feeds my children. Like, this is not just like a jokey thing that I'm doing on the side, or, there's all these sort of things that you have to move forward. Like, if you're in a caring profession, you shouldn't earn well. And I feel that we're in such a great time to buck all of the trends and question them and look at them and go, hang about, who's this really helping? Nobody. Let's have a little look at changing things.
Yeah.
But, oh wow, I'm so proud of you for doing that for 2 weeks. That is fantastic. What are you going to do with yourself?
I had so much more time. I feel great during the day, and I didn't realise that I've committed to 3 months to begin with. I don't think I could ever do a life without booze, because I do really, really enjoy it. But for 3 months I've committed to it, and I didn't even twig. And I came home from work, I think it must have been last Monday, and my husband, I was like, I've been so productive today, like I've had the best Monday in ages. I did this, I did that, I was with the lives, I had a great time. And he was like, it's because you didn't drink. I was like, oh yeah.
Oh,
not that I need to be very clear. It's not like I'm going into work with hangovers every day, because I literally cannot do that. I really dislike hangovers.
It's not like you're walking, round Hackney on the way, like, la, 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 I'll just have a few cans and then I'll go straight in. No, Kerry is very professional and brilliant at what she does.
Of an evening, I'd definitely have a couple of glasses.
Of course, absolutely. So in terms of your community and people feeling safe with you, people feeling like they can get to know you, because again, this is another thing that comes up with service-based business. It can be hard to ask for help sometimes, because especially with babies sleeping through, there's almost like this magical, like, once they're 6 months, they'll just do this for the rest of their life. And it's just, we're human beings. None of us have a kind of certain, this is what the next chapter looks like. How important, I guess, has been building your community, has been showing up all the time? And what do you think has really resonated with your audience? Because it's grown, like I saw you were up to 25,000 today, like amazing.
For me, I just want to preface this. For me, it's never, I do it for the pause, not the applause. It's really nice to do well and remember those busy first and celebrate. Like, I remember my first 100, which were made up of like all my friends and family probably, and then getting to that 1k. And I had this in my head that if I could get it to 1,000, like 1k would see you on your way, and it would grow from there. So it's still like, when I'm talking to somebody on Instagram or I'm doing a live, I don't really think about how many I'm speaking to. I think that would scare me. I just feel like I'm talking to one person. But I think
because you're now like speaking to Wembley Stadium, aren't you? I can't remember how many. I'm just going to Google it live on the podcast. Wembley Stadium, how capacity? Oh, it's 90,000. Okay, we're fine.
I've got a while yet.
But 25% full, like, happy days. That's you're practically a Spice Girl.
Hilarious. So I think it is important for me. I've always tried to concentrate on giving value, and again, it comes back to that doing what makes me feel good. I feel really good when I've reassured somebody and helped somebody, or given them a little something to try. And I definitely think you can have that hand. It might not work for everybody, but I do feel it can work hand in hand. Like, show up. And one really big thing that really helped me was get visible. And if you look back it took me 2 years to even get my photo, like a headshot, on my website.
Oh,
like
really?
I just had, and I hadn't really realised. I can't remember. I was doing a podcast on my podcast about my story, and I realised, I did not show my face for 2 years on Facebook or Instagram. Or Instagram was a bit different, because once I'd got on there, I think I'd gotten over myself. But no photo on websites. There was like stock photos, no videos on Facebook for a long time. I was incredibly shy. And what really helped me was the more visible I got, and the more I shared what I enjoyed sharing, and the more I was myself, that's when it started to grow. Because I think having your own business, it's the biggest learning curve. It's one of the best things I've ever done, and the hardest thing. It's so hard to look at yourself, and it's so hard that I'm getting goosebumps and close to tears to say it's so hard putting yourself out there. And the first time you get a shizzy review or someone gives you a 1-star on the podcast, it happened yesterday. And do you know what? For the first time ever, I was just like, well, didn't like it, that's fine. That in the beginning would have absolutely floored me. But it's that muscle you just get used to. That's not the downside, but the yang to being visible. So my biggest tip was just get out there and be visible. Just talk about what you know, because the biggest thing I've learned is people, however great your business is, however great your business plan is, people don't buy from business plans. People like people, they need connection, and that works really well for me because I need to eyeball people, not in a stalky way, but I need to eyeball people every day. I need that connection every day. That's just who I am. And maybe that's all I've ever known working with kids. You get a lot of connection, like far too much connection during the day, don't you? Because they are all in your space. But I really need eyeballs every day. I need to talk to somebody every day. I need that connection. The more I showed up, the more I showed my face, the more vulnerable I got, the more real I got, the more I was myself. People buy from people. They want to know you. And I still struggle with this because I very rarely put personal stuff on Instagram, because I'm just like, people aren't interested. Are they interested in what I have for breakfast? Are they interested in me sweating it out at a kettlebell class at the gym? But I don't put those things on. I try to stick with staying in your lane. I try to stick to sleep. Actually, some of the best stories I've ever done are little outtakes of what I'm doing during my day.
Yes, and I think it's all about feeling good, because if you can find that sort of rhythm to it, that's when it's going to slightly become easier. So even though technically on paper it's out of your comfort zone to go, hi guys, how are you? Here we go again, even though I'm tired or I'm doing that. Like, if you can stick with those sorts of things. I mean, I'm sure if I had to talk about photosynthesis on the internet, like that, I would not be showing up on stories that much. Like, Oscar is really interested in his science books at the moment, and I tell you what, for me, age 38, every day's a school day. I'm like, right, that's how a rainbow's made. Interesting, good to know. Yeah, I knew that already. Yeah, fine, whatever. But yeah, I think that the more that you show up and the more that you connect in that way, but with those boundaries in place, it's just going to grow your business. And also, just as an aside, that, you know, like when you launched your online course, people bought it because they were buying it off the back of seeing you week on week on week and really finding that connection. So by the time you launched it, it was a no-brainer for people, because they were like, off we go. Yes, of course, I would love to buy that. And that's when you can really see those jumps in your business.
Yes, and that really blew me away.
Yes, amazing. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to share kind of that sort of stuff, but yeah, those launches when it can significantly change your bank balance.
Yeah, I had so many issues about having a passive income. I'm sure you remember, Nikki, that it's lazy. I can't do that. It's too easy. Or who am I to just earn money while I'm literally laying on my sofa sleeping in my jammies? Hands down, that is one of the best things I ever did doing that first e-course. And it feels like yesterday that we sat down and planned that. But I remember the first day, I didn't do a launch for the first one. I don't even think I told people, because again, you learn as you go along. It's just trial and error. And that first morning, that it was live. I remember going to work and I turned around to Matt, my husband, I was like, I'll just be really happy with one sale. If we sell one e-course today, I will be so happy. I think we sold over 1,000 the first day. And both of us, I will never forget this moment. He was more excited than me. He is definitely my biggest cheerleader. He is amazing. All his faults, trying to change a light bulb this morning. He is amazing. And he sat up till like 2 a.m. in the morning with a bottle of champagne. Wouldn't happen now. 3 months booze free. But we sat up, and every time one came in, we posted it. He was like, oh my goodness, one's come in from Australia, one's come in from South Africa, one's come in from like, it was just, it literally floored me how well it did. And I just was not expecting that. And I actually think that was a real definitive moment then, because I was just like, oh, hang on a minute, people need this, there's a real need for it.
Absolutely. Oh, and I just on a side with passive income, I've actually got a free masterclass coming up about this, because as you rightly said, launching something like passive income where bits of your business start to feel easy, it's a real mindset shift from actually making the decision to doing it, carving out the time in your diary, actually writing the content, then working through the whole process of like, well, am I going to be able to tell people about this, then accepting the money. And, you know, I'm sure there's some blokes, if they're listening to this, like, what, just like launch the thing, what are you on about? But I know for me as well, it's so emotional. There's so many mindset shifts. And will they like it? Do I have to go around to their house and make sure that they can operate the technology? No, it's all groovy and they can experience it and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
I'm conscious of time, so let's do two final things. One is, what have you got coming up next, and what are you excited about kind of going forward? And the second bit is, where can people find you? How can they come and find out more, or purchase something, or submit their sleep story, etc.?
Well, I'm just excited for every day. I could never imagined where I would have got to where I was now today 5 years ago. So in another 5 years, who knows? And I'm just so excited for it. I'm all in for it. Whatever happens. Really, at the moment, I'm really working on webinars. I did my first ever webinar last night. You'd be very proud of me, Nicky. I was really nervous. But
amazing, you did it. How did it go?
It was really good. And again, listening to instinct. Matt, my husband, he was just like, you need to plan it. You need to plan it and write down some questions and write some notes. I'm like, nope, I just need to do it from my head. I think if I plan it, I'm just going to get more nervous. So I didn't eat my tea, Nicky, which is what happens.
And it wasn't even because you've been grounded.
No, I literally couldn't eat my tea. But I really enjoyed it. I just went in, whenever I find something tricky, I just tell myself, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be out there. And if you don't do it, you're not going to get better.
Totally.
So turned out I did a 2-hour workshop on toddler sleep. They loved it. I had some amazing feedback already. I made some absolute clangers. Didn't record it properly. I've recorded everybody's face on there, so I can't send it out. But do you know what? I learned so much from it, and I'm really excited, and I'm really hoping that I can start to do more of the webinar. So I'm really, really excited about that, because it will be able to reach. It's very, very accessible and affordable. There's just more reach for it as well. And I can really narrow. I think last night I might have gone too broad, but I can really narrow it down, like bedtime battles in 3-year-olds, or there's just lots of scope there. So I'm really excited about that. I'm also just
well done you. Do you know what I mean? This is the thing, because most people go, I'll wait, I'll do this, and la 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 la, and actually you don't get to learn until you start doing it. So I'm super proud of you. That's amazing. Great stuff.
And I'm just excited to see where the next 5 years goes, and past that. Obviously, I'm hopefully not going to end in 5 years, but I'm just really take one day, especially with COVID, take one day at a time, see where it goes to. I'm just really, really excited. And then where you can find me on Instagram, Consultant, a website. What happened to these applications? It's like giving out your number.
And my last 3 security digits on the back of the card. I sometimes worry I'm going to do that. I'm like, no, Raby, don't reveal all the things. My inside leg measurement is.
But you can find me Instagram, Carry It Out Sleep Consultant, Facebook, I think I'm Carry It Out Sleep Consultant there, and my website as well, carryout.com.
Amazing. Oh my goodness, I've loved it, and I've loved watching what you're doing. You are just one of these people that's just such an inspiration to me, and that I just look for all the time. Again, not in a creepy way, but just somebody who, I know as getting to know you as a friend as well, that I can say things and you're going, go on, tell me your big goal, tell me what you want to do. And I know I said something about collapsing my timeline, and I was like, I thought I would only be able to do this in 5 or 10 years. I'm like, actually, I can do that in a year. Let's see what that looks like. So I just appreciate you so much, and I'm excited for your future too.
Thank you. You too. And I one last thing, I think it's really important to connect and help other people out. I think there's so much competition out there, comparison, it's so hard not to get caught in that. But I think real magic happens when you talk to other people, and you connect and you collaborate, and we can do amazing things together. It's great, and cheer people on. It's a good feeling.
Amazing. Kerry, thank you so much. You beauty.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you haven't already, feel free to rate, review and subscribe for all the brand new episodes. If you want to go deeper with my support, check out my freebies house and unlock the rooms you choose. nickyraby.com/freebies house. I also have workshops, programs and one-on-one bespoke offerings. For prices, availability or just to have a chat with me, go to nickyraby.com. Thank you as always for spending some time with me and my guests, and I'll see you next time.